If you live in the United States, politics has a way of being an omnipresent factor in our lives, today just as much as any other time in our history. At Wharton and Penn, I've spent the past 4 years diving deep into the modern American political arena. I've explored topics on the themes of political and debate techniques, communication styles, what separates the winners from the losers, and how winners keep their power over time. These ideas are incredibly powerful to anyone, particularly those who seek to lead through influence and make lasting change. I began my research in the spring of my freshman year through David Eisenhower's course, Communication and the Presidency. Professor Eisenhower commissioned me to study President Trump during the infancy of his 2024 presidential campaign, using a $1,500 stipend which took me to Waco, Texas and Washington, D.C. There, I did a deep dive into modern presidential communication and what campaigns can teach us about future governance, concluding that Trump's speech was rich with particular techniques and approaches, and his campaign was far more focused in 2024 than it was in 2020 or 2016. Out of this experience, I created a 1.5-hour-long documentary on presidential communication in the modern age.
Along with so many other Americans, even at the time, visualized Trump running for office. This duality is seen further into Trump as well in his business practices. He states that he's a supporter of small business, and yet personally rips off many small businesses in his business past.
Following this experience, my research interests brought me to France for 2 consecutive summers. I studied at INSEAD, a European business school where I immersed myself in conversations with experts in a variety of fields, including deans of European business schools and INSEAD alumni who were presidents, CEOs, and founders of multinational corporations. My experience reinforced my commitment to the study of leadership communications as a tool for influence and as a force for the betterment of society. Back on campus for my upperclassmen experience, I sharpened my research through 2 other classes, Com 3230, taught by prized journalist Al Hunt, and Com 2955, taught by David Eisenhower and former Congresswoman Marjorie Margolis. I wrote on the future of the American political establishment and about the relationship between the media and political outcomes. I was also inspired to create another documentary as I did 4 years prior, and completed it in December of my senior year. This documentary was focused on the Democratic Party, meant to be part historical analysis and part future outlook for the party. It spanned 1.5 hours, where I concluded that the Democratic Party will likely be undergoing significant change over the coming decade as a response to their recent performance. I also outlined potential avenues for the future of the party.
Are we looking for a reconstructive president who ushers a new age of thought between Americans and their government? Or one that continues the same ideological path that Trump has placed the country on for the past 10 years? Much can be said about how we have a lot of greasy insurance salesmen out there who are trying to scare people into voting to gain political power. Those who sell an idea of safety while contributing to its decline in the first place.
My work culminated with my senior honors thesis, where I studied the debate performances of presidents who transformed the nature of the office of president and set paradigms which lasted for decades after their times in office. My work used a state-of-the-art natural language processing tool called BERT, a Google-developed software that is able to model semantic meaning in words in broader context to the sentences and the paragraphs they sit within. I focused on modeling the relationship between each candidate's debate strategy and the narrative identity that they represented within each answer they gave in their debates. The unscripted setting of a presidential debate offers a unique window into the true character of a presidential candidate. I found a relationship between a candidate's chosen debate strategy in a particular answer and their narrative identity that exists within that answer. My work furthers research on presidential conviction and communication under pressure, using recently developed language processing and modeling techniques. Over these past 4 years, my research has not just informed my perspectives on the American presidency and the American political system. It has been a study on influence under pressure, a study on those who are responsible for making large decisions, how they communicate, and why they communicate the way they do when the stakes are the highest. It was the study of what separated the good American leaders from the great ones, those who reframed their position beyond what was established by their predecessors, those who had the conviction in their ideas, who built the necessary teams and waited for the right national moment to enable their change. And that, more than anything, is the lesson that I take with me. Because what I've come to realize is that the American presidency is not just about policy or party or even ideology. At its core, it's about persuasion. It's about the ability to define reality for millions of people at once and impose a sense of clarity, direction, and meaning in moments of uncertainty, crisis, and division. At its core, it's a role that anyone can take inspiration from. The study of politics and how presidents respond includes within it all aspects of professional and interpersonal life. It's about building a network of people aligned on vision and the ways to communicate that vision to a public which may be skeptical. And that raises a broader question, one that goes beyond politics. What does it take to lead when the pressure is the highest? What does it take to speak when the room is divided? What does it take to influence not just what people think, but how they see the world? These are not questions reserved for presidents. These are questions for all of us.